This training will be about storage media. We will review the switches and inputs and understand what does the equipment selection do, and also analyze some of the outputs. To begin, we're going to select the training folder, training series project we're going to work with. We're going to view the project, and then we're going to select the equipment selection. If you would like to understand the tabs here, the data selection, base data, and profiling, then you can see the training that is in the training folder for these switches. But for this matter, we're going to select the equipment selection, and we're going to create a new equipment selection called training. We're going to write the description here: training for storage media analysis with Phony Client, and we're going to click on save. And now the switches will be available here. Before beginning the storage media analysis, the project team must have a clear understanding of the current state of the project you're using, and also understand the business requirement, because with this, the current state and the business requirement, we will enable to make decisions and about the storage media selection process. The idea of DC Modeler is to determine all the possible location sizes and options, and then interpret this DC Modeler output, and also determine which media to keep and which media you should omit. Okay, so I'm gonna use the storage media switches and inputs of the Phony Client project to set this information in DC Modeler. Okay, the first switch we're gonna see is the pick full palette from reserve. As I saw in the switches and inputs for this project, I will select true. By selecting true, instructs DC Modeler to assign order lines requiring a pick quantity more or equal than the palette quantity to be picked from the reserve area. If you set this to false, then forward and or each area will be oversized to hold demand that could have otherwise been picked as full palette from the serve area. And by setting this to true, the forward and or the each area will be reduced in size. The next switch will be replenish each peak area with full cartons only. I'm going to select this as true, and if you set this to true, that means you wish to require that all each area be replenished with full cases only. If you set this switch to false, then this means it will pick individual SKUs from forward or reserve area, and this will increase the replenishment labor. The switch replenish eaches from reserve. I will set this as true. This means you wish to allow eaches to be replenished from the reserve area. You should typically set this to true to allow replenishment of eaches from reserve because they are replenished in cases. If you set this switch to false, then replenishment inventory is added to forward inventory and location will be created in the forward area, even if it doesn't require. The 2 carton minimum for each replenishment. This means that you want to require 2 cartons to be picked for replenishment at a minimum. If you set this to false, that means you want to replenish actual demand every time. This switch, the percentage to round up forward pick quantities to a pallet, allows to treat forward quantity as a pallet location. I will set this as 0.95. The minimum each peak to replenishment ratio, I will select this as 1. By setting this to 1 means I wish to require that at least 1 peak be supported before a replenishment is activated. The higher the number means more inventory, and lower the number means more risk of stock out. This switch is for the eaches area, and the minimum peak to replenishment ratio does the same, but this works for the forward area. Now let's set the inventory calculation. You have 3 sources. Source 1 is the SKU input maximum inventory field. Source 2 based on number of days sales on hand. And source 3 is based on the quantity on hand given in SKU input. So let's review a quick slide about this to understand how to use these sources. So here we have a slide that will explain this really quickly. The inventory calculation, basically it works for each velocity, and you can assign a rule for each of it, and it takes the maximum of any given source for that SKU. So first we have the max quantity. The source will be the SKU input. The input will be the max quantity. And let's imagine it's a decision that may cause oversizing because you're using basically the maximum value. Then we have the days on hand. The source will be calculated daily units times days on hand, and the decision will be based on the calculation, and this should be worked with the client to understand how many days on hand for each velocity you should have. And then the quantity on hand, the source, it's the SKU input. The input will be the quantity on hand, and the decision here is based on the day you were taking that data from. So basically it's like taking a picture of one day in the DC, and based on that information you're gonna base the decision. So in DC Modeler we're gonna use source 1 for all the velocities. This means the maximum quantity. I'm using this because that's what it says in the switches and inputs for this project. It's the best solution for in this case, but the decision should be made according to the project. For the forward and eaches variables, it determines the product level in forward area or the eaches area according to the velocity for each group. And this number represents the days on hand for the velocity category. So we have here the forward variables and the eaches variable depending on the area. Then we have the maximum days on hand for each velocity, and we have here we can set the high velocity for A SKUs, B, C's, and D's. And It means it wants to refers to the total amount of inventory that should be planned in the facility. And here's a caution you have to be aware. The days referenced here are shipping days 5 per week and not calendar days, meaning 7 per week. So you have to be very careful with this. Once you set all the variables, the switches and variables, the inventory calculation, the forward variable, each variable, and max days on hands, then you click on run. I already did this, so once the status is completed, you can go here in this tab analysis, and then you can select the equipment selection, and you can run this analysis.